What's going on, YouTube? It's time for another recap. Man, what an exciting day. Did you guys catch the catalyst? World War III back-to-back catalyst for the early morning dump. If you watched our last YouTube video, we were planning a big short after the first gap tag. I was hoping that we wouldn't hit it yesterday, but we did late day. And like I said, we were breaking it down here. And I said, if it stays over 498.95 or 500 as a half whole dollar, we will move up and attempt that gap tag. Now, there is a good algo system where if you have a gap on the daily chart like we have right here, looking at QQQ, and we have a second one, of course, every first tag of that candle that comes back, so if we create the gap here, the first time price action enters that gap, we have a high percent chance to pull back after the gap tag. Now, my call was to get up to 506.61 on a push day, right? Which would have been today, excuse me, not yesterday. Notice the first tag. Okay, it is what it is. So the 19th was the first tag yesterday. And that usually, generally for me, on my algo systems, and we have a lot of tried and true stuff that we work with, that will put us at a disadvantage because it will set us the groundwork for a pullback. And then if you see here, yesterday's price action loaded into that and then washed back down. One thing that a lot of people didn't pick up was an intraday algo yesterday. So there was a high probability chance that this gap left on the intraday was actually going to fill down to 501 as well. That I did not even see until later on in the day. So when the price action, which we called on our Discord that we were going to have a short close to open pre-market. So this high was going to come up, we're going to lower high, and we're going to come failing back down because it does not deserve a third gap up, right? So yesterday's highs is this orange dashed line, okay? Right here, yesterday's highs. Yesterday's highs, if price action opens in the pre-market to the live and price action is up here above yesterday's highs, it's obviously another gap up, right? So I said to our chat, we definitely are not going to get another gap up. There is 0% chance. I have zero catalyst, no news, no nothing to create a third freaking gap. A third one, because on the daily chart, remember, we're battling two gaps right now in the QQQ. The gap up, election craziness, gap down, also kind of election craziness. Now today, right, we were starting above yesterday's highs, which means we were way up here in the gap, right? So we would have opened up here and started creating a candle, which would have left another gap right there, and that would have been our third gap. If you want to look at the prior to QQQ, very similar to what we see down here. Gap number one, gap number two, gap number three. Okay? We don't need that again. That's super rare. Okay? So we're not going to get that again. So my pre-market short consisted off a very easy first gap tag short. Yesterday was our first gap tag. Price action pushed into the gap. And up here at pre-market, I said it was coming down to yesterday's highs no matter what. So we had a good short pre-market, rode a little bit to the downside, and then the catalyst came for the wash. And I told everybody in my chat, just get off the bounces, don't even try to catch nothing at moving averages, nothing until these algos are done selling. That is a catalyst-driven large marker, okay? Hype, fear, and greed drive the stock market. Technical analysis, any monkey can learn support resistance, double top, equal highs, equal lows, fair value gap, that doesn't work, and other gaps and stuff like that. Like anybody can learn technical analysis, right? So the wash from the gap, and it starts plummeting down. So we miss VWAP, and this was our long play here, and I'll go over that in a sec. But notice the 666 washed out, half candle retrace washed out, Fibonacci points, half candle retrace, and 500, all psychological levels washed, no support, none. So a lot of the times we'll catch counter trend trades. You'll see me play counter trend all the time in regular technical analysis, right? We also had this gap that we just charted off earlier in the video where we're going to come down and fill today. And that was a beautiful algorithm, perfectly timed news, mind you, for a gap algo system. So the technicals are all playing out with the perfectly timed random news, right? So our strategy for first gap tag sets the next day for a short, high percentile chance. We also had this gap open, sets the day short. So we shorted pre-market, and that was the call. And then we had a reversal play. Let's talk about the long that we caught all the way back up, making us that $5,000 second good trade of the day, okay? So this is what we seen on the QQQ. And as an algo trader myself with confirmation, Fresh low, fresh high. You hear me bitch about that all the time. Fresh high, fresh lows happen all the time and then reverse. So if you come up in price action to top one and then top two pushes off and creates a higher high and then dumps, that is something that we call a higher high dump, right? That is a fresh high in price action and then it just destroys itself. Okay, that happens all the time in every time frame, depending on the setup, where our fibs are, where our daily weeklies, where the VWAP is. We use those on 5-minute, 30-minute, hourly, daily, you name it, they persist. Well, what do we see here? Same thing. Today, fresh, low, out of sequence. It beat out both the prior candles. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, lows. Beat out both Monday and Tuesday, which means this has an opportunity to wick back up because it is a fresh low. If you're confused, here's another one. Here's the gap down. If we did the fib box, right, on this candle, what else do you see besides a fresh low reversal today? Fresh high reversal yesterday. Here's the top of the candle, fresh high, lo and behold, huge wash, okay? Those algos persist all the time. I can teach you how to use them in the chat and how we use them, and they are powerful. So that brings us to the long trade of the day. We broke under yesterday's lows. We got under Monday's lows. And then the algos decided to reverse finally. And I told my crew as well, on QQQ, it's a VWAP deal for me. And then after that, it's anybody's game. It can continue back down. It's going to be $500 psychological over under, right? Because we have NVIDIA earnings, and we're not going to do anything until after NVIDIA earnings because we talked about NVIDIA being the catalyst to run up to the gap and then flop, right? That was our last video. We wanted to see that. So for our long here, this is all I did. I went down to the minute chart, and I said, okay, we broke 2 daily lows here. We have an opportunity to roll back up to VWAP because at the open, way back here in QQQ, we never tagged our little purple dashed VWAP, okay? So the magnet of price action will return to VWAP before it reverses again, especially at Euro close on confirmational, okay? So let's talk about this trade. I don't have a 10 SMA on here. Let me edit and throw that on right now real fast for you guys. Simple moving average. And we can use the 9. Doesn't really matter. We don't have to do 10. It's so close. So here's the 10 SMA in the blue that we just put on, right? We have the bottom of the day that broke the lows. Lows of yesterday is right here, this dashed blue line, okay? Makes a huge 2-piece candle. Okay, well, that's a flag if I've ever seen one, right, on the minute chart. So we push back up off here, and we mount the 10 SMA. If you want to know how we play moving average mounts, check the video out, freebie on YouTube on how I use this exact strategy. It broke over the 10. We did nothing until we waited, and I said right here, it's 10 SMA versus the world, okay? So we had really good price action, right? Magnets, because that's how algos work. Best magnet drawing ever, I know. Those are thunderbolts. It's going to pull up here, price action back to the VWAP because that's the magnet we wanted. So price action pops, creates a flag on the minute, bangs into the 10, rip, bangs into the 10, rip, bangs into the 10, rips, right? That's the trend. That's the reversal trend. So we longed it. I took small pieces here and then a big piece right here just for edge of confirmation. And that was just on trend. I should have been in here on the flag and recovery of the golden pocket, right here, because this is the gap down last Friday, that giant candle that was put in, Friday's candle. This is the golden pocket between 500 and 497.90. Once it recovered this and gave us a confirmation, see that wick right there? It broke over level, back tested support, and then rode that 10 SMA like nobody's business to our target VWAP. And that got us 1,500 times 3 or 4 on all the top step accounts, and then I just left it at that. Then we had the hype of NVIDIA after hours running right now, right? And again, in the blue zone, if you're wondering what that is, I put the blue zone as an over-under. We had a massive amount of double Fibonacci crossovers along with yesterday's high, so when I called the short and pre, it was a big piece of the pie to be over-under the blue zone today, so I said to my chat, as long as we're under blue, go short. If we're over blue, go long into the gap, so on and so forth. So that is a Fibonacci gap that we don't have to talk about as much. Easy peasy. Now, NVIDIA is coming up. We had the hype at the end of the day. It did not drop. The news catalyst, again, fear, hype, and greed was the missile, the long range. The Democrats trying to start World War III because they're crying about the Trump win, right? We all know what happened. So as we come into this area of opportunity, right, NVIDIA run up happens the end of the night. Golden pocket. What did we say? 500. Look at the top of the golden pocket, right? So bam, catalyst, bam, right off the 100 EMA, and away she went for the earnings ramp, right? Not too shabby. Now, we did have a little algo system here. I'll note for you guys, since we did pick up another 1-minute algo, we did have a break algo here, and this was going to fill instantly. So notice that breakaway, equal highs for resistance, short into gap, back along for gap continuation. And we have a couple of FGs there that are common gaps that are going to be working out really well for the rip. So what's NVIDIA doing? Well, our prediction was NVIDIA has an opportunity pending the old call, right? I haven't looked at it yet. So we're just whipping back and forth and literally just nothing sandwich. We came a little bit under yesterday's lows, which is our blue dash, never went towards yesterday's close. We should be just partial to highs, still in a lower high system on the daily. All the MACDs are all looking good to the downside, RSIs as well. So I'm assuming this could continue a sell. We'll see. I don't know if it's going to be the news headlines or if it's going to be NVIDIA now, because we got a mix and we got broadsided by some special news there this morning. So we don't have any more predictions for the day. That is the entire breakdown of how and why of all the psychological catalysts. Now it's up to NVIDIA. So I threw NVIDIA up here on the other panel, and now I'm just going to watch NVIDIA over under 10 SMA daily. If NVIDIA starts to cut off after the earnings call, they don't like what they hear because they pretty much, they crunched all forward guidance and earnings, right? So that was my understanding from reading. So I don't know if we're going to get any kind of, if it's going to be nothing sandwich to a fail, right? Because in my head, we still have only two scenarios now for our prediction, which we had called, and it's been timestamped forever, is a push into the gap, fail, and then a continuation fail under the 10 SMA daily. I don't care if it pushes into the gap again and goes 506.61. We just have to lower high and then start chasing down the gap fills down to 492.50, and that would just make me happy as a clam. And if we get actual panic, 100 EMA, okay? All right, great. So if you want to trade live with us and see me do this absolutely live, we narrate everything, we show trades, all the other good stuff, link is in the description. So if that sounds good, we'll see you in chat. If not, see you on the next video.